Hey, 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 welcome everybody. Hello, Amber. Hey, Jeremy.
Hey,
How's it going?
very well.
It's been a
Um,
busy day.
yeah,
Yes.
I know it has been. We put on a barbecue for our clients at work today. Over 600 plates of barbecue we have given out, and more people than I want to even think about being in my office traipsing around. I'm like, I want to think about all the stuff I've got to do tomorrow morning when I go in to get the office back into like normalcy.
Working order.
Yeah. So, um, so yes, this is like the biggest break ever and most awesome. Um, Jeremy, first of all,
Mhm.
thank you for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be back.
You have had an busy couple of weeks. You
Yeah.
killing it with the shows before LegionsCon.
Yeah. Thank you.
A week of LegionsCon,
Yeah. This
and
week,
then
I finally feel like I'm getting back to normal. Like last week, I said this last night on my show with Dub. He was here the Wednesday before, like literally here. And like that night, I was still in a fog. Like just I had driven home from New Jersey on the Tuesday, so Wednesday everything was still just so kind of rolling around in my head, and I've finally been able to kind of catch up on my sleep, but more so just guess put everything in perspective because it is such a whirlwind of a week
yeah,
that to sit back and take it all in, it's important and it takes some time. So I finally feel like I've been able to take that time and do that and process what went on during Mythic Week 2024.
well, that is awesome, and we are hoping to get some great stories from you tonight from Legions Con. This is
I'm here
uh
for it.
yeah, we know what was revealed, but we know that behind that is the story of the community, and
Yep.
we are excited to learn more
Yep.
about that. Before we get into that, a couple of things. Amber, we have a bunch of people in the chat, but we have, for the first time, some super chats that we need to definitely recognize. So let's start
Yes.
at the beginning and welcome everybody, and then I guess recognize the ones that we've seen come in, which is amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right. Jordan's starting us off.
Hey, Jordan.
We have Rob Zamora,
Hey, Rob.
Michael Morales. Let's see. We will have shirts later. We will let everyone know. Jeremy's ready. We've got
Jeremy,
Lauren.
Jeremy likes you all so much that he's even wearing a non-black T-shirt for tonight, which is one of the rare instances you will see me not in full black uniform. But for you, I had to rock the gear.
Thank you, thank you.
I love it. We have Kevin and Curtis. Curtis again, thank you.
Thank you,
Jeff
Curtis.
Evans. And then our first super chat.
Woohoo!
You're so super.
Thank you, Curtis.
Let's see. Stacy Lynn. Hello. Jeff Evans. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Jeremy. Hello. And Cloud. Let's see. Andy. Hey. Dirk. Loved your ribbons, by the way.
Yeah, best one's the con.
Purple Ray. Got William. Another super chat.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you, Andy.
Eric Miller. We have Heinrich.
Hey,
He's going to catch us on the replay. We have Joe. Hey, Joe. And G. Collectible Fun. Greg. We have Mirko. Master Versal.
Hello.
Michael Casper. Maverick.
Hey, Maverick.
Another super chat. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
Let's see. We have Darla Ackerman.
Mm.
You
Both
sweetheart.
Ackermans in the house.
Marissa. Hi.
Hey, Marissa.
Christopher. Alec. And Carlo.
Hey, Carlo. All right. We've got a lot of people out in the chat today early.
Yeah.
I know a lot of times people jump on afterwards. Got a little bit of news to go over. One of the great things that is happening in the community is the Toys for Tots. Cabal Cares. Of course, Cullen is doing most of the back end work of this. We have some great artists who are doing some great stuff. We've got great things from the Four Horsemen. A lot of people pitching in to give. It's, I think, yes, $10 per spot to win a lot of different gifts. There are no limits. You can get as much as you want. All of this is going to charity, so there's no limits, as many $10 spots as you possibly want to give. The drawing will be on December 4th at 9:30 p.m., but all entries have to be to Cullen by 7 p.m. on Wednesday, December 4th. So Cullen said not to comment on PayPal because it will stop him from being able to collect money. If your name on PayPal does not match your name on Facebook, to message him on Facebook with that. PayPal to cullen@gmail.com, and then comment on the Facebook post with the number of spots you want, and then go to PayPal and send the right amount of money. So if anybody has questions, there is a huge post. Again, lots of gifts. What a great community. I mean, really, really amazing community come together and do this for Toys for Tots.
This community is always amazing when it comes to supporting causes like this. I mean, this is, this happened last year as well, but this is just another example. We've seen this multiple times with different causes, everyone just kind of pulling together to do something like this. It's very heartwarming.
Okay. And then Marley.
Yep.
Jeremy, you want to just kind of touch on this really quick? He is.
Yeah. So I mentioned this on my show last night. We posted today, unfortunate news, but I mean, seemingly from the kind of reaction we've gotten so far in the community, not as bad as I had feared it might be. Long story short, when we solicited, this is the Haunted Blue Marley. So this is the one that's part of the retailer appreciation wave that has a street date next Friday, which is Black Friday. The original solicitation had said it was going to glow in the dark. Just simple miscommunication, right? Dealing with the factories in China, trying to give feedback with the language barrier. There was a miscommunication. And as we were trying to dial in, getting it to glow, but still actually look like the paint master that we did, that miscommunication caused it not to glow. And because they're in sealed packages, that came all the way to us. We didn't realize it until very recently. So we put out the announcement letting people know that, hey, unfortunately, the Haunted Blue Marley is not going to glow in the dark. The retailers you would have bought it from are going to contact you to ask you if you still want it. Certainly retailers are going to let anybody who says, nope, I really wanted it because of the glow, that's the case, they're going to let them out of that purchase. We're working with the retailers to make sure that they're taken care of. But, a lot of what I'm seeing today is, glow. Some people really love it. There are certainly some people that were like, yeah, I really wanted the glow, so I don't think I'm going to pick it up. But by and large, it seemed like a lot of people didn't even remember it was supposed to glow. They were like, oh, I totally forgot that was a thing. I just love the look of the figure. Some people were mentioning that being able to pull it apart will actually be and use it for customs and stuff will be easier without the glow. And at the end of the day, with the lights on, it looks amazing. The colors are richer than it would have been if it had that glow spray on top of it, which was one of the challenges we were trying to, resolve. So never want to have to release news that says, hey, this isn't going to be exactly what we intended. But it's still a super cool figure. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised with how amazing our community and our retailers are, that the general feedback we've been getting is, you know what, man, thank you for the transparency. Thank you for the communication. This is not an issue. I still want to have the Haunted Blue Jacob Marley.
I think it's awesome either way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beautiful.
You glow in the dark. It's a fun little gimmicky thing. I'm not a huge glow in the dark fan. Like when I get a glow in the dark item, I charge it up right away. I go in, a room with no lights. I see how it looks, and then I never think about it again. I put it on the shelf. I've heard people say, well, I like to view my toys with the lights on, so the glow effect doesn't matter. And again, I'm not minimizing if someone really, really wanted it to glow. I mean, I think it would have been awesome if it did glow. That's why we originally were going to do it. But at the end of the day, you're trying to make lemonade out of this. It is what it is. It happened. It's still an awesome looking figure. If you're going to put it on display in your collection, it genuinely does look richer and brighter the way it is now. And if you have a black light, I guarantee you hit this thing with a black light, those colors are going to blow up because the way it's painted, it's going to react to that black like in a really cool way.
Oh, that's awesome. Can't wait to see pictures of that. Somebody's going to post pictures of that, I'm sure.
You see that question Dirk asked? I don't know if you want to bring that up.
Let's see.
So when Dub was here last week, he took a shot of my collection, and he actually took a shot of a non-production item that's in my display case. So at one point when we were doing the transparency on the first Marley, because the lower boots and stuff are semi-transparent, it's it kind of fades to that translucency. Chris had them run a couple of them fully transparent. So one of those made its way into my display case. As everyone knows, I love Jacob Marley. I love A Christmas Carol. This particular figure was a passion project that I really was excited to do. So the fact that was gifted to me to put in my display case was pretty cool. But that's what that is, that Claire Marley. It was a production sample that Chris had them run to see how it would look.
That's awesome.
Okay, we have two super chats to catch up on. We have one from Jordan. Get your 2 packs from BBTS.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you, Jordan.
We got one from Kentpool, Night 2 with Lord and Savior Jeremy.
I don't know where that started. I don't know where this Lord and Savior Girard thing started. I've certainly never referred to myself by either of those 2 nicknames, but whatever. Rock on, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. The biggest thing we want to hit here is the street date for the retailer wave is coming up.
Yep.
Black Friday.
Yep. Super cool wave. 5 figures, 3 of the Figure Obscura repaint. So those are the 3 figures that came out in 2023. Monkey King, Mask of the Red Death, and Jacob Marley. These are the retailer versions that are repainted. It's also that Undead of Vikenfell, and possibly my favorite Cosmic Legions figure to date, that Share Rice or the Shadow Circle. That's a fun homage to this figure. So this this Fisher Price.
Let's make you bigger, Jeremy. Hang on.
Oh, sure. This Fisher Price Adventure People Alien Astronaut. This is, a very cool, fun, vintage, kind of obscure figure. So when we were doing that particular figure, I mean, his name is Fisher Rice. It's a play on words for Fisher Price.
Right.
Such a cool figure as is, but a lot of really great options in that with 4 different heads, 2 different sets of limbs. I have 4 of them on display because there's 4 unique looks you can get in that one set. And I honestly want more. That one I think is going to be a big hit with Cosmic fans.
Yeah, well, even with non-Cosmic fans, I just think he's really cool. Although Kevin is super excited to get him. He remembers the Fisher Price one from before. So that's really cool. One thing that I'm announcing here is we are going to be on location at Dragon's Hoard in Greensboro, North Carolina, to do a live unboxing on Friday, November 28th at midnight. Yeah, don't ask me how I'm going to make it through that day because it starts at 4 a.m. But at midnight on Friday, I am going to be unboxing
awesome
some of the figures from the wave. Not all, but some of them. And Amber has agreed to join me as I am doing it. So it's going to be a really fun night. So we hope that you guys will join us as well as we do the live unboxing.
Awesome. Have fun with that.
Okay.
Wants to know if you still have to wake up at 4.
It'd probably be 5 on that Friday that I wake up because I'm also cooking all day for Thanksgiving. So I will cook all day for the whole family and then clean up and then take family members back home that need a ride and then get ready for the live unboxing. So it will be a full day for me for sure. All right. We have some special guests that I am excited to bring on. All of our guests, this is the first LegionsCon that they've ever been to. This is, and each one of them are coming from different areas of kind of where they are in their collecting. And so I thought it would be cool maybe to bring them on and talk about their first experience and what they were expecting and then what it was like, just to kind of to see what it was about. Again, this community is amazing and I am so excited to share it. So let's bring a few people on and see if we can talk to them. We're going to add Mira to the stage. Hey, Mira, how are you?
Hey, and then I'm doing great.
We are going to bring Liz to the stage. Hello, Liz. How are you?
Hello. I'm well.
And
how
then
are you?
We are also going to bring Robo to the stage. Hello, Robo.
Hello. How's it going?
How are you? Going good. We have one more that is joining us, and he will be on shortly, and we will bring him up when he gets here. Let's start with Robo. So, not really been a collector of Legions. Got some of the figures in hand and was able to play with them, and then came to your first LegionsCon. So from when you played with the figures and then like what was your expectation and kind of how did that expectation live up to, or how was all of that?
My expectation of the show, of the con?
Of the LegionsCon, yeah.
Oh man.
Of coming to LegionsCon.
There's no expect. I've been to a few Comic Cons, and so you get used to how they go. You know, you go to the show. Yeah, I've been to a few here and there, and you know, you go to the show. There's tables, there's companies, there's people to talk to, but this is this is something different because it's nothing. Well, okay, it was kind of what I expected. You expect tables, you expect people, but man, the artistry, the everybody just being knowing each other, just everything. It's more of an experience than going to a convention, because everybody was so welcoming and everything and talking. And I've only been to one show before where people get tables just to show their work, because that's not common at a lot of cons. So that was something unique that I really enjoyed. I didn't even see everything on the con. There was so much to see. Mm-hmm. During setup night, I thought, well, this isn't a very big area, so I'll be able to shoot through and see it. And no, it didn't happen.
Well, I imagine too, this is your first year at the con, and you are very well known in the community, toy community, the amazing shows that you do. We have been watching Foosh Weekly or Weekly Rewind for years and have really enjoyed that. So you have a very unique perspective in that you have all of that in your background. So I guess, I believe you probably have answered it on your show, but you're coming back.
Oh, yeah, that's without a question. I think I said it during the show at some point. If I could only do one show, it would probably be this one. And it's not just because I'm talking to y'all right now. Yeah. It was just, you know what I mean? I'm not just blowing smoke. It's like I said, I've been to other shows quite a few times, so it's become just kind of routine. It's fun, don't get me wrong, especially going to seeing people that you only see at those shows. But man, as soon as you hit that lobby, it's the show, it's the convention, right? Until you go to bed. There's no downtime.
At all hours of the night and morning.
Yes. Yes.
There's always someone in that lobby.
It is.
When you said to me at LegionsCon, when you said exactly what you just did, that you absolutely will be back next year, and if there's only one show you could do, that's the one that you would choose. I mean, that, especially for someone who is new to the show, and I mean, obviously you've known Legions for years, but you're not a hardcore collector. To know that you came in and felt welcome and had such a good time that you would make a statement like that. And then to see you reiterate that on your rewind, that certainly meant a lot to me. That kind of stuff, I've said since the beginning that right from year one, Joe Viteri and myself, who started LegionsCon, we said, our mission is that if you come to the show, you have so much fun that you can't imagine missing it in future years. And if you missed the show and you're following it at home, you're like, that looks like a great time. I've got to find a way to get there next year. So hearing that kind of a testament really lets us know that we're on to something.
Oh, you're definitely on it. You've created a nice little pocket universe that people can visit and hang out with other people, in that same universe. And it's a very, very cool place to visit.
And we always say that, because you're right about people exhibiting and not selling. I remember the first year, it was 2021. I remember walking around with George Gaspar from Four Horsemen Studios, and he was just shaking his head. And I mean, at this point, the show was a lot smaller. It was a one-day show, a lot smaller. But I was like, what's going on? What's wrong? And he said, I don't understand the show. I said, what do you mean? And he said, all these people have these amazing things and they're not selling it. Like, people are walking up to them with wads of money saying, can I buy this? And they're like, no, they're just for show. So that was, for George, such a surprising kind of thing. But that's how LegionsCon started. It started as an art show, and we still have that vibe. Obviously there's a ton of commerce happening now, but we bill it as part art show, or part art exhibit, part toy show, part family reunion. And I really do think that every one of those aspects plays into the uniqueness of LegionsCon.
Yeah. As a customizer, it's kind of a kid in a candy store type situation, because I just see so much stuff that I didn't know existed before a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of, it's over. It took me 45 minutes just to go through the armory build, if not longer. They had to boot me out at the end of it, at the end of the session. Build one. So I'm just like, it was kind of sensory overload, but it was in the best way possible.
Yeah. Robo, one last question, and thank you very much for coming on and talk to us. Truly appreciate it. So, very last question for you: how many dragons are you going to get?
Oh man, I'm definitely in for one.
Yeah.
The dining room table dragon. But if there's more dragons, then there's going to be more dragons. Then. But she definitely wants one.
That's
my wife.
Awesome.
I've already told this story to everybody, but yeah.
That was a great story. Just so you know, Robo's wife saw the dragon. She was like, I want one.
She said, we don't do anything with the dining room table anymore. So there we go.
There goes where the dragon.
Love it.
Again, thank you very much.
No. Thank you.
Truly appreciate it. Let's move to Liz.
We have another super chat.
Oh wow, okay. Let's.
Jordan, next year at G-Con, everyone wear a hot dog costume. We're doing a gas bar sausage flash mob. Since we have plenty of notice, so I guess we all don't have an excuse now.
Yeah, now we don't have an excuse.
I just got to say this, obviously Jordan and Van, they're a couple characters. One of the things that I found myself just reflecting on while we were at LegionsCon is the number of characters that we have in this community. Like, you've got the zaniness of the Purple Gang, but there are so many people that have become kind of recognized, beloved members of this community for one reason or another. And it really made me happy to see them all coming together kind of in their element amongst their people. It's it's a really interesting, special environment to have something like that where everyone can just be themselves and kind of blossom, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
What really got me was when Dirk made Van ask Curtis for his room number so he could put trash outside of his room.
I hadn't heard that story.
I was like, he's going to give you his room number. I'm pretty sure he did.
Oh, goodness. Liz, back to you. Just really you're coming at this from a whole different perspective. So you weren't coming to LegionsCon for you were coming for Jeff. He is the collector, he is the customizer, and yet when you got to LegionsCon, like, how did your perspective from before you went, while you were there, and now that you're home, like tell us a little bit about that change that happened?
Sure. It's a bit of a story, so I'll do my best to keep it short. I was introduced to Legions, and Jeff introduced me to Legions and Legions figures, so to speak, by the number one way was by the boxes arriving at the door. That's the first way. That's the first way I found out of it. And then it slowly increased to watching the shows every week. He watches and he participates in the community, and he's very involved in the community. And he kept on talking about this community. And he kept on talking so much, even after IshCon, like, oh my gosh, honey, I can't wait. We're going to have so much fun at LegionsCon. And I'm like, then I think it was Jeremy who talked about the pretzels in the pub. And I'm like, okay, there's food there. I'll go, because I'm a big foodie, always have been. Like, food is what can draw me or take me to any event. Okay. Anytime. So when we got there, I was first introduced to everybody by standing in line for GCon, and that experience was definitely memorable. I'm an introvert at heart, so it was such an experience just standing in line. And then Tanya, you came up to me and my whole world completely changed. The way that you explained what I will still call it vendor, but what the exhibit was and how it is an art show, that stuck with me and still stays with me to this day. Even during the swigs, talking with everybody and introducing everybody, and everybody in this community is so welcoming. I have never met a group of people that I've never felt more at home with, and so able to be a little bit extroverted. And it is true, the dying down from the con and coming home, that is definitely a feeling, missing everybody. And I never met anybody until the con, really. So just being home and kind of digressing from that and having that feeling is kind of sad. But I think that's why I can't wait until next year. I think by the end of the last night that we were there, I was like, okay, we're booking the hotel. We're staying in the hotel. We're coming back. Like, that's it. Like, I even made a joke with him at the end. I was like, I want to be the wife sleeping up in the hotel room while you're down here in the lobby talking with everybody. Like, that's how I want the night to end.
I love that.
That's awesome. So during the GCon, when you guys were there, was there a figure that kind of stood out to you that you said, oh, I want that?
So it's actually one that you made that actually caught my eye. At GCon. Sorry. See, I'm such a newbie. Like, wait a minute.
No, that's okay.
Wait a minute. I was like, your figure stuck out to me. The one that you customized. But
well,
at GCon, You're
well,
welcome.
thank you.
There was a lot. It wasn't necessarily actually a figure that stuck out. It was actually the game, because of the minifigures. I've always been a fan, grew up of collecting McDonald's figures for however long. Had a whole strip in a basement full of McDonald's. So I guess you could say that's how I started my collector journey. Right. So when I saw the minifigures for the game, I literally reached over to Jeff. I was like, I have to have those. Like, I don't know where they're going to go, but I have to have those minifigures. Like, that is my thing. I collect that is what I have to be. So that definitely stuck out. And then I did see the mini dragon. And I was like, well, maybe we can just get the figure for the mini dragon. So
oh, I love that. Well, we're going to start you collecting anyway. So whether it's the little minifigures or whether it's the big figures, and start customizing, you're going to be in the community.
I can't
just
wait.
Going to reel you in.
I love to hear that, though. I mean, to hear, because Liz, as amazing as that story is, it's not the first time I've heard a similar story where someone accompanying somebody else to LegionsCon just for support. Because I mean, it stinks to travel by yourself. So yeah, I'll go with you. There have been times where it's like, oh, well, it's close to New York. Maybe I'll spend the day in New York while you're at the show. We've had people, come to intern to support their significant other, and to hear a testimonial like what you're saying, where it's like, I went in not knowing a lot about this community, just there for, Jeff, and to really feel so welcome that it's become something you're looking forward to doing again next year. That's absolutely incredible. That's wow. That makes us feel really great.
It really was an experience. It really is. I think that's also a memorable moment for me for LegionsCon, is that we've gone to other cons in the past. We've gone to several, and the big difference, I think, with LegionsCon is the people. is the welcome. You could call it the welcoming committee. It is. Everybody in this community is so wonderful and welcome. Even if you aren't a collector, it just makes you want to come back and talk to them more and get more involved. And you know, Tanya's probably right. I might actually start collecting soon. But definitely start painting, because that is another big part that I did like about it, were the other activities that were part of it. It really is an experience. It really is, and it's something that everybody should experience. As my husband always says, you gotta do something once, and LegionsCon you gotta do like 3 times, 4 times. You gotta come back as many times as possible. Because it really is a great. It's not just a show though. It's a community get together is what he called it. And that's really what it is.
Well, again, it's what I just said. It's that family reunion aspect. You know, I've heard so many people say that as much as I love the exhibits and, you know, the Four Horsemen shop and this year the Armory experience, you know, what really does set it apart is the quality of the attendees. The fact that, you know, I think Robo was saying that, you know, the minute you hit the lobby, the con has started. And that's, you know, that's one of the things I've heard some people speculate. I was listening to Unparalleled Universe, and he was saying, like, I hope they don't grow into like a convention center type thing or whatever, where they lose that closeness. And I mean, Joe and I are like, no, never do we want to do that. Like, that is a unique part of what we have, where, you know, top to bottom, every aspect of that hotel is the con. You know, the fact that they have 353 rooms in that hotel, and on Friday and Saturday night we had 325 of them occupied. They wouldn't give us the rest. Like the ones that we didn't have, they literally said we need to save some just in case like our Marriott Platinum members come in or something and we have to give it to them. So I'm so interested in learning what those like 28 rooms, like what the people in those rooms thought when they walked into that lobby. And it was just packed with people drinking like Coors Light and Maker's Mark and giant ogres and people talking about dragons. It must have been quite a sight.
Absolutely. Amber, I think we have a couple of
super chats.
Yep. What have we got?
We have one from Curtis. Meeting Liz immediately made Jeff 10 times cooler. And we have one from Jonathan. Just want to say you guys are all awesome and have a great show.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Sky.
Thank you. All right. Liz, thank you for coming on. Thank you for giving us your perspective. It is awesome to hear about that type of thing, and I just truly appreciate you sharing and sharing with Jeremy, of course.
Thank you.
Let's go to Mira. Mira, you just recently started collecting and customizing, and this is your first con as well, as far as LegionsCon.
Yes.
You met Jeremy at a con in Florida?
Yes.
Okay.
It's so there's this convention called MegaCon. It's like the largest convention. It's in Orlando, Florida. It was last April of last year, because my dad found out that Charlie Cox was going to be there, who plays Daredevil, who is one of my favorite actors of all time. And he's like, I want to go and see the Four Horsemen, like, because they're going to be there, so we can have you do your thing, and then I can go and do my thing. And Maggie came, so it was me and my twin both went, because I think also maybe it was Asterion, the voice actor. I know. Yes, I think actually the voice actor for he's this vampire guy. Anyway, and so we were all there, and it was awesome, and I got to meet him, and it was super cool, and we had this cool like event. He inspired me to want to go to law school, and anyway, we don't have to get into all of that. But as we were going out, my dad was like, "Hey, I want to take you guys to the Four Horsemen, show them what they're all about," because he got back in from collecting the figure obscura. I think it was either Red Death or the one before Red Death. I was really excited because Edgar Allan Poe is one of my favorite like his poetry, and it's so moody, and an actual action figure based off of that is so cool and niche. And so we went to go check it out, and I'm like, oh man, there are these super cool like skeletons. There are these really cool like knight dudes. So like we went, and it was like a pretty sizable amount of different figures that they had. And so we went and looked around, and I think my first two figures that brought me back into the line were Ilgar and the Silverhorn Sentry. And I remember talking about like, hey, can I like change out the horns and make them into like feathered wings or something? And Jeremy's like, yeah, you can do that. We talked about customizing. And my twin got Artemis Silvercord, the second version with the like, she's kind of more got a fighter vibe. And so she's super cool. And she also got Alithia because she loves vampires. Vampires are cool. So, and so we both got those, and it was cool. We spent a long time talking with Jeremy. I know Maggie asked a lot of questions, and she loves to write fantasy, and we're doing an entire Spell Plague D&D campaign right now that she's written. And so it was just really cool. And I got home and immediately started popping and swapping, and then I built Olivan out of parts that my dad had and the figures that I had got. And then he's like, hey, I got these robot heads. I was originally going to paint them for you. They're from Kevin Olson. And I'm like, well, why don't we work on this one together? And then I can paint the rest, and like we can work on some of them, because I got really interested in it. Like I had no idea there is this whole community of people creating these things. I love combining nature and robots and droids and all those, like it combines all of my favorite things. And it's such a cool niche pocket. And then he's like, oh, there's also this Facebook group called the Cabal. And then we went and joined that. And me and my sister posted our, like what got us into the line. And it was such a welcoming opportunity to get to talk and see, and then just like lurk and see what everybody's working on. And be like, wow, this is so awesome. And then like my dad's like, hey, LegionsCon is coming up. Do you want to go? And I'm like, oh, I want to go. I want to do everything in my power to make it work. And so we planned it out, and it was really great. Anyway, I know you probably have other questions that you want to ask.
Mira,
so, but
we really do love you.
Oh, you guys are so sweet. Oh,
So
I really appreciate that.
Your first con with your dad, like, was it what you expected? Was it better? Was it not quite as what you were expecting? Kind of what your expectation versus what it actually was for you?
This is a good question, because the funny thing is, like, I grew up going to like nerd conventions. Like me and my dad went to Star Wars Celebration in Orlando every year. They held it there. And then we went to Dragon Con and other cons. So like ever since probably elementary school, I found to be able to go to a convention. And it's different because you're more entering into a space, and you're shopping and you're doing things, and you have panels and getting to see things, and you have to plan it out and that kind of thing. So it's nice having that background knowledge and being able to take it here. And getting to see, because he went to LegionsCon in 2022 and sent all of these really cool pictures and like sent live updates on everything that was going on. And it was so cool. I'm like, wow, is this a custom that somebody made? And so like asking questions, and it was more on the outside because I wasn't sure about how to join into things, but it was really cool getting to see how like there were all these pockets of art. And so I got a little bit of a glimpse of it from those pictures and those snippets. I'm like, okay, people are showcasing art. That's really freaking awesome. And then there's this thing called G-Con. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but that's cool. But I was just really excited because I knew you got to see everybody's work. I wasn't sure about G-Con, but that was awesome. And also getting to actually go to intern for the very first, like having that coincide with the very first LegionsCon experience was such a really cool, a very like crazy, lucky lottery bonkersness. But I can't believe it all kind of aligned in that way. And I was sending my twin live updates, like pictures, and be like, oh, this is so cool. Like, I want to, like, you should come next year. Like, we'll make sure that she wasn't able to go because of, she broke her foot. But I brought back, like, I was able to get her a dice because she was really excited. Like, that was the live updates at G-Con, seeing that, like, there's going to be a game and actually being able to play test that game was like really awesome. And so I could not stop texting her like every night. I'd send her updates like, oh, this is what happened today, and I got you some goodies. It's a secret because our birthday's in November, at the end of November, and so it gave you the opportunity to think about like, I know that she's gonna like some cool stuff here, so I can do some birthday shopping too. um, so, but it blew out of the water. I didn't really want to go in with expectations because I knew it was going to be something incredible. And so going in and just completely just getting to experience everything for the first time without trying to like hype myself up, because I knew it was going to be awesome, and getting to like meet people who I have talked with and getting to see their art in person and getting to support them, and then getting to like having like random people who I didn't know like come up like, I've seen your posts in the Cabal, I love your customizing. I'm like, wow, wait, you've seen my customs. And like and people are like, oh, you should have showcase your customs next year. And I'm like, ah. Like it's such a really interesting experience because you get to like interact with so many different really wonderful and kind people. And people were even kind enough to be like, hey, I like this was like a con exclusive head that we built, and we can like, and I was able to like, I planned out all of the con exclusive stuff that I wanted to do for like customizing, because that's my like main thing. I have enough stuff to like paint for the whole next year at this point. But I loved getting to like support artists, be in the same space and ask questions. I'm like, oh, that was really cool. How did you achieve that technique when you were painting that? And getting to ask questions. Everybody is so open and welcoming, and it's like a space to learn and to see people's work and to get connected with people. And also like as a memento, I like stuck everybody's stickers on my suitcase. So now like my suitcase, every time I get to look at it, I think of LegionsCon, and I think of all the fun that we have, and it makes me like every time like I'm going on an adventure like for an internship, or if I have to go fly for a different convention that's like work or school related, like I have this whole community who is supporting and being like this wonderful energy. So, and I felt like that was something that I was really missing. You don't really have a space like that in any other place where you can just Facebook message somebody and be like, hey, how's your day been? Like it's not just about the figures. It's like, I know we've talked about that a lot, but it's a lot, so much of it is about the community, and it's about the community and the figures, and also like human curiosity and creativity, and how that is endless and boundless, and you can work with it within this line. And I think that's something that is incredibly powerful and so beautiful. And I'm really trying to get Maggie into customizing because she loves art, and we worked on building this cool like demon lady, and she's like, can you teach me some of the stuff that you've learned? I'm like, heck yes, you should come join the studio. And so it's so cool. And me and my dad have been able to like really bond and talk about it. And like we were talking yesterday about like seeing everybody's cool homage figures like to the Masters of the Universe, and then to other series, and people doing their own niche things in their own specific things. It makes me think like, well, maybe I should try to think about like Emil did this incredible Jinx from Arcane, and my favorite character is Victor, so I'm definitely going to try to attempt to do an homage in that. I already started like looking at figures and tinkering and doing that, and so like it's just so cool seeing how you like, I have the power to like build whatever. Like that sounds like hubris, I promise that it's not, but like like you have this power to build something and create something that is from your brain with pieces that already exist. And I think that is like really awesome. Like it opens a whole new door and a whole new world for creativity, and it's cool. And I like talking to my friends about it, because then they're like, that's so cool, can you build this? I'm like, you know what, maybe I will try that. And so it's so niche, but it's so fun and cool. Anyway, I don't want to take up, I know I feel like I've been gabbing a lot.
So I remember, I mean, Mara told the story about being at MegaCon, and I mean, I absolutely remember that. I remember you coming up, and your father very clearly being proud of introducing his two daughters to this. I mean, I remember those conversations about popping the the wings off of Ilgar and stuff. Can I move that? I remember your sister wanting Alithia and saying, well, I need one more. And I said, get Artemis, because Artemis is the, person that actually is going to go up against Alithia in the lore. So, for me, because when I go out and do shows like MegaCon, I mean, that's a chore, right? It's to be away from my family, to be on the road, to be in a hotel room and stuff. There's a bit of a sacrifice personally for me to go do that. But to be able to go out to the show and evangelize these toys and this company that I love so much, and to meet people like Mara, and then see her really embrace this community. I mean, that the last year, Mara, of seeing you in this community has been an absolute joy for me personally, to know that we met earlier this year in Florida, and that you bought a couple figures. You jumped feet first right into the community, feet first right into customizing, to go from, that earlier in the year to Curtis talking about, what a help you were at the customizing studio, trying to explain to other people what to do, that kind of giving back. That's why this community grows. That's why this community is positive, because not people don't just take from the community. People are always like, well, what can I give back? What can I do to, make this community more positive, to get more people? I love what I'm doing here. I love the sense of belonging. How can I bring that to more people? So genuinely, Mara, thank you for your enthusiasm. And thank you for your contributions to the community and to LegionsCon over the last year.
Thank you, Jeremy. That really means a lot. And that's something that I also always think about, like how much you can give back, because the community has supported me so much, like emotionally, and people have been very kind and sending things and getting to work and getting to just give back and work and connect with people. I think that is something that is huge and is so needed right now in the world. So
I 100% agree.
And Mira, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for talking about your journey. Amber, I think we have a couple more.
We do.
Okay.
We have LegionsCon is now an Echevarria family tradition. Nate Strong. So grateful for all the Legion shows to help fill the void. Miss you, people. Countdown to MSKCon is on.
Woohoo!
Absolutely.
Thank you
That will
both
be
very
wonderful.
much. All right. And
Another one, we have Curtis.
Yeah.
Mira and Tanya both did a fantastic job at the customizing studio event, helping people get into the hobby, and they helped a ton cleaning up. Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Curtis.
What a guy.
All right. And Joe, wanted to talk to you. You are a very long time collector. You've been collecting since the beginning.
Yes.
And yet this was the first time you were able to make it out to LegionsCon. So just kind of wanted to get from your perspective of having been in the community for a long time. And yet this was your first LegionsCon. So again, going back to the expectations, like what were you expecting? And then how did it live up to what you were expecting?
So not just LegionsCon for me. I had never been to a convention before.
Oh,
So
wow.
This was my first time coming out for any type of convention.
You're
So
ruined. You never be able to go to a convention.
I'm okay with that. So
Okay.
it in my mind, so I have been in the community for quite a while, and customizing and things like that, collecting, and even, doing a show with Curtis and Jesse and things like that, but not a very good show. But we, in my mind, my expectation was to be kind of a wallflower. Like, this was my first time going to a con, my first LegionsCon. I know a lot of people. I have a lot of friends in the community, but I was thinking that I would just kind of, hang back and just enjoy the show. And as soon as I walked through the door of the hotel, I was just bombarded by people going, "Joe, it's so good to see you," and rushing over to meet me. And that continued for 4 days, almost nonstop. it was such a surreal experience for me. Because in my mind, I feel like a part of the community, but mostly just, kind of blended into the crowd. And that was not the feeling that I got from everyone else there. I just, even when I would buy something, I didn't want to carry it around. Oh, I'll run up to my room real quick and drop it off and come back. You cannot go anywhere real quick at that con, because it's 5 people stopping you on the way up to the room and 10 people stopping you on the way back. It was amazing. So many great, surreal, just amazing moments. One that I haven't talked about before, that I think is a good one for this show was the first time I saw Nate Barch, and Nate Barch said, "Hey, Joe," and gave me a hug. And that was just amazing. Like, Nate is such a nice guy and so amazing that I feel like he doesn't have a reason to acknowledge that I exist. And he takes time to, and I don't mean that in a negative way, just,
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and he gave me a hug, and that was pretty amazing. So it was whatever expectations for how great this show was going to be, it was surpassed by a multiplier of 10. And I'm a big role-playing fan. I got to be in Cameron's 3rd session with Mira, which was amazing. Yeah. Just start to finish, mind blown, like, the whole time. I think Elijah Baker has a video where he's like, "What do you think of the reveal?" And I go, and that's pretty much my thought for the entire show. Like, I'm sold. Curtis was harassing me the entire show, so you're going to come back next year? Or are you going to come back? And I kept saying, I'm going to try. But by Monday I had to give in and say, I'm going to be back next year. I have to make it happen, because it was too amazing not to experience again. Even because I'm a completist of the lines. So going into the show, the Armory experience, I had it all planned out. This is how many times I need to go, and I'm going to get all the parts. And that was a big focus. I was there about a half a day, and I was like, I get what I get, because I was having so much fun spending time with all the people there that it even took me out of that focus collector attitude. I just was enjoying the interactions with everyone else so much. So
That's awesome.
That is like a testimony right there, proof positive of what people say, that it's like the toys are important, but the community is more important. Here's somebody who's a completist who was like, I get what I get. I got to spend some time with these people.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I know for a fact that Robo couldn't walk 2 steps without being stopped.
I was one of those people. So
yeah. God love him. I want to thank you for coming on. Truly appreciate your time and everything that you had to say. It's wonderful to hear your stories, and of course, we want to have you all on and actually, get to know you a lot more. But right now, we are going to take you off screen, and we will talk to you guys in a little bit. We're going to talk to Jeremy, so watch the show so you can see all the things that Jeremy's going to talk about. But again, thank you all very much.
Thank you, everyone.
See you guys.
Thanks for the
later.
opportunity.
For your support of LegionsCon. It was
Thank
wonderful to hang out with all of you.
And Mira, hang on. There we are. Okay.
Here we are. Wow. That was woof.
So a lot of first, a lot of and Jeremy, I cannot fathom the stories that you have of people coming up to you during the weekend and telling you like what what their weekend was like, what they were doing, what they how this weekend affected them. And so I know, and we do want to touch on what was revealed and all the stuff at the end for just a few minutes.
Yep.
But for me, I want to know the stories. I
Yeah.
want to hear some of what you were told, some of what, um, how the con changed people and how things, I mean, we had a great variety here of people who enjoyed it and loved it and had a great
Mhm.
time. So, kind of give us some background, some stories, some things that you heard, that maybe we haven't heard anything about.
Sure. I mean, so first off, it bears mentioning that when we started this, we never thought this would happen. We very much, Joe Viteri was like, hey, you want to do kind of a Mythic Legions meetup where some customizers can show off some stuff, and that art show aspect is how it started, and really why it still maintains that today. But to think about it not only getting to the size, because the size is one thing, like it's very impressive when you come and the entire hotel is Legions focused. But I think beyond just the size, it's the impact. Hearing the stories of what this weekend means to people, what this line, what this company means to people is, I mean, it's super impactful. Like one thing Joe just said, where he was, Nate came and recognized him and gave him a hug, and he's like, why would Nate have any reason to acknowledge me? And it's interesting because when we say how much we love and appreciate our fans, look, I get that it sounds like BS marketing copy. My entire career has been writing BS marketing copy. I'm telling you that this is not BS marketing copy. The reason I love what I do is because I don't have to spin this. Like, I don't have to say, okay, how am I gonna, make this sound the way that it needs to sound? Like, we genuinely love everyone who supports this company. We are so appreciative that we are getting to do what we do because of that support. So to hear the testimonials, it's incredible. There was one, and I don't want to give people's names because I don't know if they want this out there.
Yeah.
But I had one gentleman who came up to me, and he basically said that he believes that God puts people in your path at a moment when you need them most. And he shared with me that, he had lost his wife, a couple of years back, and then he had lost his parents fairly close to each other. And that is when he discovered like me. And he said, I discovered your show and Mythic Conversations and obviously, Mythic Legions and stuff. And you provided joy at a time when I really, really needed that. And like, that's the kind of thing where, like, when people come up and they're like, oh, I really love this figure, I really love this custom, the dragon's awesome. Like, yeah, I totally agree. Those are the conversations you kind of expect, right? But to have that kind of a conversation with someone where they're genuinely saying, you helped change my life, it's like, that blows your mind. And we hear stuff like this repeatedly. I've talked before about members of law enforcement, members of the military. There's another gentleman that is an ex-member of the military that I spent some time with, telling me how these stories, how this world had helped kind of almost deprogram him a little bit to, get back to the person he wanted to be. And again, I go back to that impact. Like, you don't expect that you're going to have that kind of impact when all of the stuff that you're doing, you never say, like, I never for a minute say, like, I'm going to change someone's life with what I'm doing here. But to hear people actually tell you that, it really makes me feel like we are all at Four Horsemen Studios doing something worthwhile. Like, yeah, we make really, really cool toys. We make the coolest toys. But to say that we're a toy company that's changing people's lives, like, there's so much cynicism out there that would say, no, you're not. That's stupid. We've heard people in the cabal say, like, oh, it's all happy rainbows and stuff like that. It's not how it really is. It's like, no, that's how it really is. And you know what? That's good. I've said this before, in a world that is often so dark and negative, to have this corner of positivity anybody that wants to talk negatively about that, they can do so, because I wouldn't change it for the world.
Well, it comes from the top down, and I'm going to bring this up real quick. Cloud said, Jeremy asked me about how I was handling the bad stuff in my life, and I wasn't expecting it. These guys absolutely care about their fans. So, you know, the care that you guys, I mean, you're in the cabal all the time, every day. You're, you know, interacting with the fans, you know, creating relationships with the fans. And so you ask about us, and again,
because you're people, and it's like, it's not, it's when I say caring about the fans, it's like, we actually don't like using the word fans. It's funny because I use it. No, because I use it all the time. And Cornboy usually tells me not to use it. Cornboy usually likes me to refer to the fans as Legionnaires, because he always has said that fans makes it sound like we're up here and they're down here, you know, because when you think about that fan celebrity type relationship, it's in Cornboy, in I mean, everybody are always like, no, we are the same. Like, you are us, we are you. We don't want to in any way pretend that we are above you just because, you know, we happen to be at the front table presenting these toys or something like that. So that's what it is. It's not just about caring about the fans because they support our company and buy our toys. That transaction needs to happen to keep this going. But we care about people because they are people, because they are our friends.
That's awesome. I love that. We have a couple of super chats we had come in.
We have one from Jonathan. I remember LegionsCon 23 talking to you guys in line, and you told me about this idea you had to do Legions ladies. Sorry. I thought it was so cool back then, and now to watch the show that you guys have had tonight is just the coolest thing.
Oh, Jonathan, thank you.
So I mean, some of the other stuff that just kind of, you get another one here.
Curtis says blue shirt Jeremy is awfully cheerful.
I know. That's what I said. It's only for them, only for the Legions ladies. But yeah, I mean, the impact is the biggest thing that always touches me. The other thing that touches me personally is kind of the spark of creativity. So I do get a lot of people that come up and they thank me for the videos I do. They thank me for, you know, being encouraging and you know, getting them, because a lot of people, when they get into customizing with this line, they're usually not coming from a place where they have super creative jobs, they have super creative outlets. This becomes their creative outlet. And we've heard so many times from people that they almost say, like, I didn't realize I was missing a creative outlet until I started doing this. And now it's enriched my life so much. And as someone who, you know, creativity has always been such a core part of my, you know, personal being, that makes me so happy to be able to inspire people, to be able to encourage people to express their creativity, to have fun with these toys, to customize, to pop and swap. When I hear those type of testimonials, that is also incredibly rewarding for me.
This past weekend, spending time talking with CB about health. Yeah. This past weekend, I was sitting and talking to a friend, and my son had showed her my customs. And it's not something that I post on, you know, my personal Instagram. We've created an Instagram for my customs, but my son had showed her my customs, and so she was asking me about them, and I told her, I said, well, you know, for years and years and years, I have crocheted and I have knit. I have turned yarn into something gorgeous and beautiful, and I love that, the creativity that comes with that. And now that I have arthritis in my thumbs, I can no longer do that. As a preschool teacher for 12 years, of course, I was always creating for them. And then having been out of that for 2.5 years, not being able to crochet, like all of my creativity was gone. I mean, I didn't, my job is analytical. It's an admin. What I do in the office is take care of whatever needs to be done. So I no longer have that creative outlet. So I will say that this has given me that back, and I have sorely missed it.
That's awesome.
So
I have another story that comes to mind.
Okay.
So there was a point, I want to say this was probably Sunday, where I was walking through the hallway, and it was, right in that main lobby area where the Reign of the Beasts wave was set up. And I think people started talking to me, and I was answering some questions. And there was one particular Legionnaire that I started talking to, and we were having a great conversation. We were just talking a lot about the new wave and everything. And before I knew it, like 20 minutes had passed, and he thanked me, and he said, "Thank you so much for spending so much quality time with me. I know how busy you are. I know how many places you need to be. So I really do appreciate it." And I realized I had no sense of time at that moment. Like, I was having such a good time. Like, it meant something to him that I took time out of my day. But what he didn't realize was, like, dude, I was in my element right there. Like, because and it wasn't just me. I wasn't just answering questions and kind of almost performing, which, that is certainly part of my job, to be there and answer questions and stuff. But we were just talking about the toys, and we were going back and forth and everything. And it was genuinely enjoyable for me to be part of that conversation. So much so that when he thanked me, I was like, what did I just do? Like, I didn't realize what I had just done, because I was having a good time in that moment as well. So that was a fun, enjoyable thing as well. I think probably the one negative for me about LegionsCon, and this is every year, and there's no way to avoid this, is I wish I could spend more time with the people that I really care about. Part of what happens at LegionsCon is I meet so many people, and I very much try to give as much of myself as I can. These people are there to see us. I appreciate that so much. So I want to be accessible. And that's why I tell people, if you see me walking somewhere and you want to stop me and you want to talk for a minute, you want a selfie, whatever it is that you want. I mean, it's still weird. My kids think it's hysterical when I'm walking and people are like, "Hey, will you sign this? Will you take a selfie with me?" They both just find it amusing, because I'm just dad to them, right? But I love doing that. But what I have to sacrifice is a lot of people who I have like stronger relationships with, who I genuinely know on a personal level and have spent time with. They're the ones that kind of have to sacrifice a little bit. And they never say like, "Oh, it stinks that I didn't get to see you." But I know, like, for instance, at MesquiCon last year, at MesquiCon, I remember like Curtis saying how much he enjoyed me being there because I wasn't working. Like, I was there. I didn't really have a lot of things I had to do. So I was able to spend more time one-on-one. I was able to enjoy it a little bit more. So that's, for me, the one, I don't even want to use the word negative, but that's the one aspect of LegionsCon that always kind of bums me out, is when I reflect back on it, I think about certain people, and I'm like Amber, I think about you and Ryan. I barely saw you and Ryan at LegionsCon, and you are two people who I see at a lot of shows, and I enjoy coming out there and talking to you and spending some time and everything. I mean, at ToyCon a few months ago, coming to you guys' table and spending some time and just chatting, like, I enjoy that so much. Tanya at Toylanta, coming down early to get a coffee and you guys being in line and spending some quality time there. Because there's so much going on at LegionsCon, I don't get to do that as much. So that's always the one thing I wish I could change.
Well, and I think because we all know how hard you work for that week, it's kind of like we're okay with that. because we know that we're going to get that time at another con when you're not
Yeah.
running it.
Yes.
I mean,
I
at least
still want to do it though because I enjoy it. Because I
Yeah,
enjoy
well,
it. I love seeing everybody, and I love
yeah.
being able to catch up on everything. You know.
Yeah. But like, I know that I'm going to see you and be able to talk to you and spend some time with you
Yep.
at another con. I'm going to be in line at 4:00 in the morning at another con. I mean,
There we go.
it's going to happen. Do you know
There
what
we
I'm
go.
saying? I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
that's just the way it is. I mean, I get up early anyway, so I know that I'm going to get that time with you. So I kind of feel like, because I know that I'm going to see you at another con and I'm going to get some time with you at another con, be able to talk with you and all that stuff, that for LegionsCon, I feel like that's a time that you need to spend with people who don't have that,
For sure. For sure.
you know. So
Especially on like the East Coast, I feel like I see you at like
Yeah.
at least every few months.
Yeah.
Luckily.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. I mean, because that is, I mean, let's be honest, Amber. We're spoiled being here on the East Coast because
Yeah.
you know, getting ZoloCon, getting ToyCon, getting
Yep.
you know, Shop for
RetroCon.
Curiosity. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so many, you know, and heck, you go to more than I do because there's a lot of like RetroCon and stuff, and you know, there's a lot of the Wolf King shows that I end up not going to, and
Yeah.
sure enough, Amber and Ryan are there.
Second in line, right behind Brett.
yeah.
Never beat
Nobody
Brett.
beats Brett.
How hard we tried.
Nope.
I've tried at least 3 times this year.
Another, when I think back to this year, I think one of the moments that I'm always going to remember is backstage before G-Con. So, like, first off, G-Con was insane. Like, last year when we didn't announce that we were going to allow the public in, so we had all of the interns, and then we had, you know, some, because we kind of leaked it out a little bit, and we were like, hey, if you're going to be at the hotel, get there early, we're going to have seats. So there was a lot of people in the room last year, but this year we just boldly were like, yeah, it's open to the public, interns get first seats. The fact that that room, when we started, was standing room only and it was packed. So we're behind the curtain in the other room. I mean, I peek around that corner and was just like, wow, like this is crazy. And, you know, I tell Jim and Eric and Cornboy, I'm like, oh my God, look, we're like, there's a lot of people here. So I come around first and I take my seat and everything. And when Cornboy comes around that corner and the crowd sees Cornboy, like, oh God, you know, to hear that place just erupt and people stand up and start clapping. It's, you know, it was a palpable sense of something that was missing last year without him there. And it's because, and the show has to go on, right? So we're up there and like, you know, our dear friend, you know, Cornboy is, you know, having health issues last year. And we have to go up there and say, hey, Cornboy's not feeling well. He couldn't be here. And, you know, all of like our brains aren't in that room. Our brains are all with him. So to have him a year later be able to come back, to come around that corner, to get the kind of reception, and then to have him break down when he starts talking about it. For me personally, that is something that I'm absolutely never going to forget.
Yeah, that was.
A couple. I was like, oh, are you going to be at the next con? And he was like, no, I'm not going to be at any more cons until LegionsCon because I need to be well. I was like, all right.
Yep.
Wait for
Yep.
Yeah, that was a powerful you know, powerful moment in Legion, you know, for the whole weekend. We were blessed enough to be able to see him at intern when he showed up there, which was a huge blessing to have him there. And then to have him walk out from behind the curtain, man, it was everybody standing on their feet. I mean, what a powerful moment. What a testament to you guys.
Yeah.
And you know, like, you know, how you all affect this community. It's pretty amazing
to walk around with him, because it's so hard, because like we try to be very humble. I try to be a very humble person, you know, because I'm so thankful of the blessings that I have. But you also want to be proud of what you've built, right? You can be humble and you can still acknowledge that you had a hand in creating something pretty darn special.
Yeah.
So knowing that Cornboy wasn't at LegionsCon last year, being able to kind of walk him into that hotel, like, so he came in the back way. He came in kind of the back entrance where the LegionsCon stuff is, and he came in to our private room, and then he said, I'm going to go leave. I want to go in the front doors. Like, he actually wanted to walk in the front doors the way that like an attendee would. He wanted to see the banners. He wanted to see like everything. So to be able to be there for him and greet him with that and walk him through, yeah, that, I mean, on a personal level, that was very, very special. It you know, a sense of being able to show him what has been built around this company and this line that he created. You know, this was in so many ways such an emotional year with the celebrations, with Cornboy being back. But that whole scenario, leading Cornboy around, him coming around the corner, all of that, definitely a big memory for me.
You having been at the studio, and I'm sure having spoken to Eric and Cornboy as well, and Jim for that matter, have they relayed any like amazing moments that they may have had, or something that really like stood out to them for the weekend?
I mean, for all of us, it's a lot of the same type of stories. It's hearing from people that are so moved that they come up and they share like very touching emotional aspects of what this company and line means to them. That's absolutely incredible. So we hear that all the time, and there's a look when we go. So we do have a private area that we go to, because there are genuinely moments that we need to get off the floor and just catch a breath and eat a cookie. Yeah. There's so many cookies in the back room of LegionsCon. It's ridiculous. Like, I tell people, when people are like, how do you do it? I'm going on 4 hours sleep. I am literally on adrenaline and sugar the entire time. Do I feel bad? People will be like, oh my God, Jeremy, it's so nice to meet you. Thanks you for everything you do. I need to buy you a beer. And I'm like, dude, you're welcome. There's no way I can drink a beer. Like, if I drink a beer, I will literally fall asleep right here, right now. If I have alcohol, it will mess with this very careful mix of adrenaline, caffeine, and sugar that I'm on right now to still be awake. So, but there's a private room, and you'll go back there and you'll see this look on someone's face, whether it's Jim, whether it's Cornboy, whether it's Eric. And it's just this look of like, just shaking their head, looking kind of blank eyed, like disbelief. And you go up to me and say, what's going on? What happened? And they always will have a story to tell you. I just talked to this former police officer that told me, you know, how much this means to them. And we've all heard these stories, but you get to recognize when someone is taking in one of those stories they just heard. They've kind of, you know, gone by in the back for a minute to gather their thoughts, and then you kind of step in there and they share that with you. So we hear that all the time. You know, beyond that, one of the things that's cool is, like, you know, Jim brings his wife to the show. Jim's not a toy collector. You know, that's one of the funniest things about the company is Jim does not collect toys. For years, Jim's been like, I don't get why any of this stuff works. Like, I don't get why people like this stuff. I mean, I'm happy they do. He's kind of gotten more into, there's more toys in Jim's office now than there have been for the first 25 years of his career. There's more. It's incredible. But the fact that he brings his wife to the show and walks around and shows it to her, the fact that, you know, Eric's wife and 2 sons took Friday off from school to come and be a part and see that reveal special. Like when I'm up there and I look out and I see like Laura and the boys, that makes me proud. Like that's like, I'm so happy that that his family's there supporting him and everything. The fact that my family comes in for the weekend to be a part of it, it's like, that's one of the things that I really love, that so many of our company, so many members of our company, the owners, they want to bring the people they care about most into the show to kind of show them like, this is they're here for us. Like this is what we built. And that's incredible.
Yeah, Trevor on his show, but me personally, he and I had a discussion, and his wife came for the first time this year. And he said he was leaving his booth. His wife was there and he was leaving his booth and walking around the corner to start at the corner of the show and take her through. And somebody came up and said, "Trevor, can I get a picture with you?" And he, he was like, "Yes, she sees. But I had the greatest conversation with her, and she was just the nicest and most supportive person. And I think Trevor said that she wanted to come back again next year and spend more time. So the fact that you all can bring your wives, that it is and your children, it is a place where your family can come and enjoy, and everybody is welcoming. I mean, it really is a great event for a family. And to me, that just, it blows my mind.
Well, I will also say it is a family-friendly event, but there's a lot of not necessarily family-friendly stuff that happens. I didn't go to the My Wife Is Gonna Kill Me podcast broadcast, but I heard that was decidedly unfamily friendly.
It was, but it's also an invite only.
It is, but my point is that everybody that's there, drinking, partying, doing all that stuff, there is such a level of respect that they're like, this is our little corner. We're going to do our thing and make sure that it doesn't spill out of this little corner, because that's the whole thing. It's like, this doesn't need to be everyone in a circle singing Kumbaya or whatever. Right. It's okay that people are having adult fun and everything, and they're, saying some off-color jokes upstairs. That's totally cool. We're all about that because people have a level of respect. Everybody understands that, like, hey, there's a time and the place for all of this. The level of respect that the attendees have, the fact that the hotel loves us, second year in a row where the hotel were just like, you guys are absolutely amazing, thank you so much, not a negative thing that anyone had to say. That is something I am so incredibly proud of.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's incredible in itself. I mean, everything that goes on in the lobby after hours, and they're still like, yeah, you guys come back. I mean, it's a testament to the people.
It's amazing. Yeah.
It really is.
So have you ever heard me talk about walking the floor with Eric? Have you ever heard that story?
I have heard that story from you, but please, there are many who haven't heard that story.
One of my favorite things to do at LegionsCon, Eric is kind of like Robo in the sense that, like, I saw Robo over the weekend, when he said, oh, I didn't even get a chance to look at the whole floor. It's because every 2 feet, someone stopped him to talk to him. And Robo is such an incredibly generous dude with his time. He's so friendly that he would stop and spend time and talk to people and have fun and everything. So that's one of the reasons Robo couldn't get around, is because he was so generous with his time. Eric is the same way. So there was a point, and this is why Eric and I walk around alone. He came into the main hall where Jesse Arnold's booth was, Jesse, Mark, and Brian. 2 hours later, he had made it to a meal, which now, Tanya, you were right there. So
Right
you
there.
know that is 3 booths. He went from Jesse to Curtis to a meal, 2 hours. That's what it took him because everyone's stopping him. Everyone's talking to him. And Eric is also incredibly generous with his time and will just keep talking. So it would be impossible for Eric to actually walk around and see the room. So one of the things that we do that's kind of our tradition that I'm super fortunate to be a part of, once we kick all the exhibitors out of the hall, we lock the doors and privately walk the entire floor. So Eric, so anybody that's like, oh, I'm bummed out, Eric didn't see my booth. Eric did see your booth. Eric sees every single booth. I see every single booth. We walk around, we look at everything, we marvel at the artistry and the creativity and all that. It just ends up being the only way that we can really do it without constantly getting diverted in a million different ways to the point where we wouldn't be able to see it. So I always kind of enjoy doing that. It's a lot of fun to do it. It's actually a quiet moment because it takes a good hour and a half sometimes to walk the whole floor and talk about everything, even with nobody in there. So I like that quiet moment of LegionsCon for me. That's always important.
I think that's amazing that you guys take the time to do that. That you are curious and you do go and you do see the art. I mean, and that's the thing that struck me the first time that Kevin and I went in 22 was how much art, how much it was about the art, and how amazing the artists that are a part of this community are. But not just amazing art that they're creating, but that they will tell you every step and everything that they use to create that so that you can create it too if you want to. I mean, it is, it's not about let me sell you this for $200 and you walk on your way. It's no. So I use this paint and this and this and did this and this and this and this is how I created it. And to me, I mean, you just don't get that. I mean, there is no other place that I know of that you can get that.
And that's something, credit where credit's due. All of the early customizers in this line, myself, Dennis Derby, Nikki, Zombie 13, a lot of people that early on were customizing were also sharing. In those early days, I can remember, absolutely playing off of each other. And, we back then we used to have like a chat outside. Like there was the Cabal stuff and there was like a private little group we had where, I could reach out to Dennis, and hell, I can still do this. Reach out to Dennis and I'm like, dude, do you have a Thistlethorn head? Like the Thistlethorn head that was on my Mythic Shogun this year, I didn't have a Thistlethorn head left. And I just needed a Thistlethorn head to use on that custom. And I reached out to Dennis and I'm like, do you have a Thistlethorn head? 2 days later, it's in the mail to me. It's in my mailbox. And, that's how we started. So that kind of sharing, that kind of, hey, I'm going to post the steps in the recipe for how I made this. That very early on in this community was part of what we did. And it's been really encouraging that as other customizers have come and kind of taking the reins, that's become part of what they do. I mean, the customizing studio, that's at the core of that is sharing ideas, supporting each other. So to see that have started early in the community with us, initial customizers and still be so prevalent today, there's no way that you can't acknowledge that part of the success of this line is because of that customization and that sharing kind of aspect.
Yeah, it's amazing. The customizing studio, as you know, I'm in a lot, and my customs that I've been blessed to have done this year and have loved doing. There's a lot that I would not have been able to do without the studio and them saying, me being on there and saying, okay, I need to create this. This is what I've got. How would you guys do that? And just happily answer those kind of questions. I mean,
sure.
that Blue Devil head, that is what, 4 different heads, 4 different parts and pieces of different things that we've put together. I mean, I would have never been able to think of all the different things that we did there to put that together. I would have never been able to do it on my own. So, but that's amazing. I love that about this community.
Sure.
Wanted to touch on, just for a very few minutes, of course, the reveals that you guys did, but is there anything else from Intern, GCon, LegionsCon, anything in that that happened during that week that just, when you look back on that week and you think to yourself, oh my God, that was the best moment?
I mean, obviously, I've covered a handful of things already.
Right.
Nothing else comes readily to mind. It's everything kind of becomes a blur in some way, because everything just crashes together.
Yeah.
I mean, just part of what I will say is there are points where I look at the people I work with and I'm just like, how did I get so darn lucky? Like, man, what a great group of people. I mean, Wednesday we're at the studio, we're at the hotel, and we're doing load-in and stuff. And I mean, just to see everybody working so hard, so I'm a hard worker. Like, I've heard people say like Jeremy's a machine. I genuinely don't know when to stop sometimes.
Right.
And I look around, everyone I work with is built that way.
Yep.
Like, everyone I work with. I've told this story before. 2 years ago, well, 3 years ago now. 2022. We're in Secaucus at LegionsCon 2022. It's almost 1:00 in the morning. The Cosmic Legions display case has some figures that have fallen down. And we look at it, and I'm there with Joe Vassapolo, and I'm like, we should fix that in the morning. And Joe's like, we're both exhausted. And Joe's like, you go up to bed. I got to get this fixed. He could not walk away with that not being fixed. And I was like, absolutely not. If you're up fixing it, I'm with you. We pulled that entire case apart, fixed every figure, reassembled the case, and didn't get to bed until probably 2 a.m. Wow. That is just indicative of the type of people I work with. Is they are so mission focused. So this Wednesday, being at that location, and George and Greg, Dustin, all of them just driving the trucks, bringing all of that product in, being in that room with Cookie and Vern and just setting up all those displays and everything, just looking around at how hard everyone was working all towards that same mission, seeing, Bill and Dan and, everyone building all those big displays, all the work Cameron did with the role-playing game, just everything. It's down the line. Diego, Sherry, it's every single person that's part of the team contributes so meaningfully to that week that's one of the things. Like, look, I always say I get to be the ringmaster, right? I get to be the one who everyone sees and gets to be there and welcome everybody. I've got a wonderful job for that, but I very, very, distinctly want to let everybody know that I don't get to do what I do without these amazing people that are doing what they do. So that's something that I always take away whenever I'm around this group, especially in a high pressure, high work situation like LegionsCon. It really makes me so grateful for, just the team that Four Horsemen Studios has assembled.
Oh, such a great group of people.
It is great.
All right. We have a couple of
Super chats.
We have Curtis We had a really fun show Sunday with couples from LegionsCon. It filled the whole screen. We all talked about how the con brings us closer together.
I'll have to watch that. I have a hard time keeping up with all the Legion shows because,
Oh, I'm sure.
well, one of the things I've mentioned this before. So much of my job is writing, and I need absolute silence. Like I can't even have music on. If my humidifier goes off, it bothers me. I need absolute silence. So there are so many times where I want to watch some of these shows and catch up on it, and I just can't during my work day. And then once my work day is done, I mean, there are times where I genuinely just need to unplug, where I'm like, I need to step away from Mythos and Cosmarium for a couple hours, or I'm going to go crazy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We have one more.
We have another one from Steph.
Oh,
We also miss you.
miss you too, Steph.
Oh. Thank you everyone who has done the super chats. We hit the 500. It's the first time that we've been able to collect those. So from Amber and I and Lauren and Stacy, thank you very much for supporting the Legions ladies. We truly, truly appreciate you.
Amazing.
All right, let's go through real quick.
Sure. Yeah.
Some amazing reveals this past G-Con. The first reveal was, of course, Basilia.
Yeah.
Now, in her, and I didn't pull all the pictures, but I just want to be sure that in my mind that I'm thinking correctly. Where she is seated, standing up here, there will be two pieces that will replace that will allow her to fly.
Yeah. So basically, the way it works is the torso is just a 2.0 torso, so we know what that looks like, and that plugs in to that snake body. From basically the waist to that curved piece, those are different segments that are connected with barbells. So each one of those will move, and there's going to be a lot of posability there. I've seen some people asking, hey, can we see more dynamic poses? And it's like, well, no, because this is a prototype. This is actually all 3D printed pieces. We can't really do the kind of posability that she's going to have once she's done. But the way it's architected, you're going to have a lot of movement. When you get to that curved piece, we did that so she could, sit basically or stand on a flat surface. And she does come with a clear stand as well to make it even easier, to give you an extra point of balance. You will be able to take out that kind of L piece, that 90-degree angle, and replace it with two segments that are straight that will allow you to put her in more of a flying pose. Now, where that L piece, that curved piece is, the part that comes after that is bendy. It's not segmented like the first parts. That's going to be totally bendy with a nice thick wire in there. So a lot of different posability, as well as those different pieces you can swap in to get either more of a flying pose, all of the standing pose. And that, as we were going through the engineering for it, because that's one of the challenges, Eric was like, do we want to do her in a standing pose? We want to do it in a flying pose. If we do the bendy part there, it's always like you can't kind of bend it enough for her to really stand the way you want. So this ended up just being a good compromise to say like, hey, let's just have a part that is swappable that will allow us to do either kind of configuration.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm excited to get her in hand, and gorgeous. So the Aztec look of her, those colors, the feathers, the everything. I mean, wow, she is gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, that Mesoamerican influence, that's something that Eric knew he wanted to do. And it's actually a little different. So I actually do have a sketch of the original Basilia design that Eric did like at the start of Mythic Legions 10 years ago. And while it is very similar to what we see here, he definitely amped up the Mesoamerican aspect of this character. And I think it does add a lot to it. And we've always been successful at that. Whenever we bring in design influences from, you know, our world, the community seems to respond very positively to that, which, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, especially because this line, they're all characters that you don't necessarily know because they're not from a movie or a book or something like that. So when there is an element that you identify with, like a real world cultural design aspect, that does seem to be very positive for many people. And I think that's going to work well here. And color wise, she's so incredibly striking.
Yeah, she's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And those wings are not oversized. I mean, they are a perfect size for that figure.
Yep. Eric wanted to I mean, we have wings. Eric right out of the gate was like, nope, I don't want to use the existing wings. I want to do some brand new ones for her. So yeah, I mean, he this entire wave, Eric didn't skimp on anything. Not that he ever does, but
Right.
you know, he was very ambitious with this wave right from the get-go, and he didn't pull any punches.
Gorgeous. And what a way to start a reveal. I mean,
Yeah, that was intentional. I mean, I love doing that because I get to, again, as the ringmaster, I get to kind of determine how the acts roll out. And, you know, everything gets presented to Eric. And he rarely, I think we switched one character up in this. I think originally we were going to do Windaji second to last and the Golden Pride, you know, before that. Like those two got swapped. But right from the get-go, we knew it was like, hey, let's just come out swinging. Let's absolutely hit them with something unexpected right from the get-go. Like, hey, you're going to see one of the great beasts as the first reveal. So I heard some people say that set the stage for what was going to come. And that was 100% intentional. Like letting people know that, okay, this is going to be all killer, no filler. We're hitting you hard with this. That's what we wanted right out of this first reveal.
absolutely amazing. Then we had the Serpent Spire Royal Guard.
Yep.
Again, really, really amazing. And even down to like taking everything off, all the armor and stuff off, and just being the full character. I mean, just amazing.
And this is, you know, it's interesting with this because so often when we add something new to a wave like the full serpent lower body, there's always an apprehension to do two figures in the same wave with that. You know, there's always like, well, hey, wait a minute. We don't want to hit them with like two of the same thing right away. So let's save that for a subsequent wave. And sometimes it kind of bites us a little bit because then people are like, oh, I've seen this before. You know, like right now you see Basilia and everything is so new. And then you see Serpent Spire Royal Guard and it still feels very new. So your level of excitement is really, really high. If we had revealed this in maybe the next wave or the wave after, I don't think it would have hit the exact same way because you've had time for that to become part of your mental mindset of Mythos. And then it feels like, oh, they're reusing parts again and stuff. So even though this is parts reuse, and even though that's an essential part of the line, it made more sense, I think, to put it here. And it makes more sense for us, you know, just from a strategic business standpoint. Like, look, when we invest in tooling, we got to reuse that tooling. That's part of how we can keep doing this. So to reuse that part so quickly, I think made a lot of sense. And really the only difference here, this is the same tail as Basilia. The only difference is the end of it. So it's got a different tip on the end. And at the top where it connects to the torso, there's just a different top piece. So we have two different top pieces, one that has a 1.0 connector and one that has a 2.0 connector.
Fantastic. And then Gehenna,
yep, which that name was kind of a mix of different spellings of Gehenna, which is one of the words for basically hell in like I believe, I don't know if it's Arabic, but Eric had wanted to do this. He kind of regretted not doing the smoky lower half for the Jinn Calazir.
Yeah.
So he knew he wanted another shot at that. You know, at one, I've seen some people asking if we'll get a blue one of these for Calizair. Absolutely. We, at one point, Eric wanted to put it in this wave as just an accessory add-on, the blue one, but it didn't really fit. Like, adding an item in this wave for a figure that came out, you know, 5 waves ago felt
Right.
like weird, kind of shoehorning that in. But absolutely, that's on the wish list of what we want to do. So this was something where, you know, Eric said he wanted to do an Efreet. He wanted to do this big, smoky, fiery lower half. And it's just, I mean, this is the kind of thing that we know our core fan base appreciates. It's big, it's nasty, it's mean looking. It checks a lot of those boxes.
Yeah, and I absolutely love this, and I am so excited to get this for the gen, because that was my thing. I was like, I wish it showed him coming out of you know, the bottle, and here it is. And so the fact that we're going to get it for the other one, just
we're gonna do a blue one. We'll find a way to get that blue one out there.
Yay! All right. Then we have Arya the Talon Bearer.
Yep. No, Araya the Talon Bearer. So,
Okay.
you know, this was one when we first started talking. She was dragon cultist, and you know, when Eric says, "I want to do a hyena," I want to do. Obviously, I knew what Leodicius and Basilia looks like. I want to do a snake war. Like, I kind of knew what things were going to look like, but dragon cultist, no idea what that was going to be. So when he showed me this, you know, I was really excited. But as he started working on this, like, story elements started really like weaving in. You know, the fact that he used the Arazak armor and the Arazak colors, you know, we immediately pulled Arazak into this part of the story and started connecting some, you know, dots that maybe we weren't ready to connect just yet, but everything just kind of ended up working. So, you know, he wanted, like, even with this, obviously she's got a mask on, and I said, "Oh, does she come with an unmasked head as well?" And, you know, he was like, "No, I want there to be some mystery in this figure." And there absolutely is. This particular character, it's a first age character, but, you know, some of the story that we started to weave, there's a lot of elements from that first age and from these dragon cults that are now impacting where we're going to see Mythos going in the modern era. And of course, it comes with the bendy dragon, so that's a super fun addition. I always have loved characters that come with little, you know, pet characters with them. So this, I think, is going to be popular for a number of reasons, and of course, it's a Legion's lady.
Right. Somebody in the comments had said, if this was the only dragon we had gotten, I would have been happy. I don't want to take anything away from the dragon, because, oh my gosh, but I do love this dragon. I think it's really cool, and, you know, I'm looking forward to getting this one as well. I mean, he's going to be cool.
Absolutely, I'm super excited for that too.
And then we have Windaji.
Windaji, you got it.
Yes, I did it.
Windaji the Cackler.
Which is so cool.
Windaji is a variation of the Swahili word for hunter.
Gotcha.
That's where that comes from. Contrary to popular belief, we don't just like put a bunch of letters into a randomizer and say, make a word. That we do, there are reasons for the word. So this one, when I named this one, the Windaji. So I named Windaji, but Eric wanted to call the group the Cacklers. So this is a combination of us working together there. This is one of my favorites in the wave. Big surprise.
Absolutely.
It's an anthropomorphic character. This is Eric's favorite in the wave. So Eric, this is the last one Eric did for the wave. And there's a lot to really like here. And obviously a lot of the buzz about this is the addition of the new articulation, which, I mean, it's really interesting because when we dropped this one in the Golden Pride of Leandor, who I assume we'll look at next.
Yep.
The reaction online was very, very positive. There's a lot of people who have maybe stayed away from Legions or been a little cooler on Legions because like extreme articulation is very important to them. So for these to introduce that type of articulation scheme was kind of like, oh my goodness, this is what I've been waiting for. But interestingly, I talked to a number of people at the con that were a little cooler on it because, as you'd expect, people at the con are all Legion super fans. So they're all like, why are you messing with my articulation? There was nothing wrong with it. I love it the way it is. And I mean, I said to people there, I said, dude, I'm on your side. Like, I agree. I never had a problem with the articulation, but at the same time, we need to try new things. Like if we are just doing the same thing over and over and over again, we're never going to get any further. Like we're just going to play in this little sandbox. And, we want to introduce this to new people. So, one of the exciting things I think with the addition of the new 3.0 bodies, which are literally going to be way more compatible with older stuff than I think people realize.
Right.
It's not like, hey, this is in a box by itself. It doesn't play with anything else. There's a lot of compatibility. I think it's going to be exciting to open up some possible new doors to let us try some new things. And at the end of the day, we're trying something new. Eric said this to a couple people. He's like, if these things come out and they don't look great and they don't work well, we'll course correct. We'll go back to what we know does work well, but this is part of growth. This is part of our experimentation to try new things to see what actually is going to work. Not every figure is going to come with this type of articulation. It's going to be yet one more tool in the toolbox that we can apply to certain situations.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see how it comes out. Again, I'm not real big on articulation as far as that goes, but I mean, I know that there are a lot of people that are, but depending on posability and all that stuff, it'll be very interesting to see how this comes out and what people think of the new 3.0 body. And then, of course,
it's more hidden. And I'll say it is more hidden on the cackler than it is on this human character.
Right.
And it's also like the turns for the human character, when the character is just standing straight, that is the worst possible way those joints are ever going to look. The minute that you bend them and you put them in a pose like we have here, a lot of those double joints, they kind of go away, right? Because the part that looks a little awkward is now folded in. It's now part of the bend. So again, there's going to be instances where you see the joints more prominently than others, but I'm excited for what we're going to get to do with them. And hell, I'm excited for people that have stayed away from Legions, maybe because they didn't have those double joints. There's a lot of people that's their thing. It's just like, I need double joints to buy a figure. This may get some of those people to buy their first Legion, and that's exciting.
Yeah.
Right? Whenever people are going to get introduced to these for the first time, that's an exciting moment for us. And, I think that this is going to open the doors to some of those people. I think this is a super cool figure. This is also an example of, I've heard some people say like, oh, Four Horsemen Studios are going after, the other companies because, like Zesray does their Roman gladiators. And that's not the case at all. The exact opposite is true, to be honest with you, where this is a Roman style gladiator. We've been doing Roman gladiators since wave 1.
Mercurians have been there since
wave 1. So it's not like we haven't done this. If anything, like totally truthfully, we've held off on doing certain things simply so there isn't that kind of impression, because we don't want people to say, oh, the Horsemen are doing this in response to something else. Look, we don't do anything in response to anything. Like everything we do it's because it's something that we are inspired to do. We are very much focused on our own company and not anybody else's. But I will admit there have been times that we've said, hey, let's not do this right now because somebody else just did something similar. And we don't want to seem like we're copying or we're trying to play catch up. And at the same time, too, we don't want to take anything away from what they may be doing. But the downside to that is like, there's some really cool ideas of stuff that we want to do that we've kind of put on the back burner. And as part of this new kind of arc and this new kind of approach, I wouldn't say it's us like taking off the gloves or anything like that, but it's us kind of saying like, hey, we need to remember that we have to run our own company. We need to put out the best possible toys. If we have a cool idea, even if there's somebody else out there doing something maybe similar, they're not doing it the way Four Horsemen is going to do it. And that's what we have to focus on.
Yeah. And then, of course, Legions, which is,
Yep.
I cannot wait to get this figure in hand.
Yeah, this is a absolutely gorgeous figure. Along with the dragon, the first one in the wave Eric worked on, and quite literally most of his year. But the projects to do the dragon, Beathair, and to do Leodicius were two absolutely brutally heavy projects for sculpting that he had to do. The end results speak for themselves. But yeah, this is head to toe just such a gorgeous figure. And some really cool new pieces that we're going to get into the library that we'll certainly be able to see again. Because at the end of the day, that's one of the things outside of this wave that's exciting for all of us, is whenever we expand the library, I also know what's behind the scenes. I know all of the parts that we haven't shown you that are already sculpted to go with some of these bodies. But there's some really, really cool stuff that we're seeing in this particular wave that is going to pay dividends in future waves.
And let's run through the rest of these real quick. I did want to just mention, of course, all the books that are coming out.
Absolutely.
The Ashcan edition for that Cosmic comic was amazing. Love that. Love the artists that are in the community that doing that. And of course, we can't wait for your 2 books.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Sideshow. Yep.
Sideshow. I was saying show something and it wasn't coming to my mind, so thank you for that. This is going to be awesome. Like I'm excited to see what the first choice is. Like
this is going to be cool. Like I talked about this last night with Dub on my show. Being able to, potentially introduce Mythic Legions to new audiences that already know Sideshow for their premium statues and stuff like that. I'm absolutely excited for this. And I mean, it's just creatively, it's cool to be working with them because they're such good people and they're so clearly cut from the same cloth that we are. So just inspirationally, it's been a really fun project so far.
Yeah. And then, of course, the game. I know that there are a ton of people who are excited about this.
Yep, this is very cool. We heard from Joe earlier and Mira, who talked about getting to play the game. I talked about Cameron, the amount of work that he's put into this. Yeah, this is going to be very, very exciting. Once again, potentially opening new doors. And, along with the Sideshow announcement, really showing kind of, I think, the growth of Mythic Legions and where we're going with it. It's a toy line and it's always going to be first and foremost a toy line, but being able to start to get into some of these other mediums and some of these other formats, I think that's going to be very positive.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and then Infinite Legions, which brings in other small toy lines into the Legions line. This is a very, very cool idea.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Dub and I again talked about this on the show last night to kind of clear up some misunderstandings. It's not really only toys. It's what we talked about is, the traditional licensing model where you go to a company and you say, hey, we want to make toys from this property, whether it's a book, a movie, whatever it is. You license that. And a lot of times you're not even working with someone that had any hand in creating that property to begin with. You're working with like a licensing agent over there. We don't done lots of work for other companies on licenses they own, but we don't typically do that. So this is a way that we can work with artists and creators whom we admire, like to start with, Matt Dowdy from Onel Design and Glios. We can work with them to bring their characters into our style. So one of the things I said last night is, Faden here, there are already toys of Faden. They're much different. They're, very small. Some of the characters that we may do, they may not be toys. So it's not us just making toys of toys. These may be characters that people have created in other ways, bringing them into, like, taking their characters and their worlds, bringing it into the toy universe that's compatible with Mythic Legions, that has the pop and swap and the look and everything that you've come to know from Full Horsemen and Legions. That's what Infinite Legions is about. And one of the things I said last night is, just like Figura Obscura, you never know what you're going to get. And there's that kind of sense of anticipation and excitement. Infinite Legions is going to have that as well. Not with necessarily surprise drops with that, but you never know what the next Infinite Legions project is going to be. And we're going to genuinely surprise people.
I'm excited about this. I think there's so many possibilities here it's unreal. And then, of course, Otho, this is, to me, this was one of the best ones, because there are several. When I first got into the line, I think it was Bill Dorklayer said, "Don't look back, just look forward." And yes, we've collected some of the older figures that have come up that have been really good deals. I wouldn't spend too much on those, but to know that the ones that we are looking forward to getting, there is a possibility of them coming. So this, to me, is awesome.
And that's what it is. It's a win-win, because not only will it allow fans like yourself who want, I remember talking to you at Toy Lantern and you telling me how much you want a Stereon.
Yes.
Not only is it an opportunity to potentially get figures like that, but it's an opportunity for us to have another chance to make that character the best that it can be, and this is what we talked about last year or earlier this year, when we said, hey, we're not doing All-Stars anymore. It's because we didn't feel like reissuing those All-Stars, putting out a Wave 1 figure alongside, a figure with the kind of sculpting and parts and soft goods and everything we do today. The disparity was so extreme that we didn't feel good about it. So This is allowing us to say, hey, you want Otho for your collection? Absolutely. Well, we don't want to just give you a reissue of Otho 1. We want to do it better. So this is Otho version 2. This is Legacies of Mythos.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this.
Otho is one of our Grail figures that we were able to get a couple, I think it was last year, maybe the year before. But like having a second version is like amazing.
And I think that there's still value in having that first figure. Just like, if you're a fan of the line, there's going to be some people that immediately sell Otho 1 because they're like, hey, I'm going to get what I can for it, and I'm going to put the better Otho 2 on my shelf. I think that there's something cool about that historical version as well, to be like, hey, this is from the early days of the line. This Wave 1 figure from a decade ago still has that nostalgic kind of sense for me, even if the new version is a superior action figure.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. They'll definitely be side by side.
And then the release that you guys did that night, this was
surprise drop.
Surprise drop at LegionsCon. These are amazing. The reviews that we've already seen of these, of course, holding them in your hands. These are amazing.
And this was cool because, last year we dropped the Valiant Knight as a surprise, and nobody expected it, right? Because last year it was unprecedented that we dropped a figure on the table with no fanfare announcement, and people just walked up and were like, what the heck is this? That figure was meant to be a preview of the Necronominus wave. So this year we were like, well, what are we going to do? And, Eric immediately was like, because we knew we were going to do Great Beasts. Eric designed this figure in January.
Wow.
So we knew that the end of the year was Great Beasts. And he said, how cool would it be if during the reveal special, we reveal these characters, and then the next day at LegionsCon, essentially a character that is kind of from the wave is on the table to buy. So that's why we even made sure that in the photo of Basilia, when we showed that environment photo that you showed earlier, everyone focused on the Serpent Spire Royal Guard that's in the foreground, which we revealed with the next reveal. There's 2 Ninians in the background behind Basilia that a lot of people didn't even realize. So, I mean, we were teasing it right during the reveal. We obviously put it in the display case at the show. And just like at IshCon, when we put the Armory Knight there and people were like, what's that green knight? And we kept saying, I have no idea. I don't know how I got there. I've never seen it before. We kept saying that for the Ninian that was in the display case. So for people to walk into that 4 Horsemen figure fair on day 1, get to that final table and see that pile of those snake men, that was super cool. And absolutely everyone loves this figure. The feedback we've been getting is off the charts.
Yeah, it's unreal.
I remember people
So
like
amazing.
in the line stopping me, like as I was like, I think I was going to my room for something. I'm like, Amber, you won't believe it. I was like, "What is it? Tell me more." So awesome.
And then
there
the
is
new shopping experience, how did that go? That was good.
That was amazing. This was something that when we talked about how we were going to change things around from last year to this year, when we decided that we were going to move 4 Horsemen Studios, into this space, we immediately said like, hey, I want to do something different. I want this to feel more like, a pop-up shop. And a lot of people, I don't think, knew what a pop-up shop was, but this idea of a temporary installation that goes up for retail, it's not there permanently. That was the idea. We wanted people to feel like they were walking into the 4 Horsemen store. So the way that we merchandised it, the fact that it wasn't what we've heard people tell us, when you're at the table, there's so much pressure because there's a lot of people behind you and you're like, I got to get through this fast. But being able to get into this room and kind of browse and shop around and get what you wanted and then get in checkout line, it worked really, really well. 100% we'll be doing this again next year.
Yeah, it went quick, and it went quick. Like people were getting in, finding what they wanted, and getting in line to. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yeah, and
it looked impressive, right? When you walked in and you saw everything merchandised. Yeah, very impressive.
Very awesome. And then this was an amazing experience. I mean, not only us at Intern, but then to have it at the show. I mean, it went faster than what you guys were even expecting. I mean,
so much smoother. This I said this leading into LegionsCon. This was my biggest worry of the show. My biggest worry was that this was going to be a massive bottleneck, and we were just going to have created a situation where only a handful of people could get through, and it was going to be a super cool experience that could be experienced by very few people. That didn't happen at all. I mean, to the point that we gave out tickets on Saturday, and it was such an easy flow that we just started letting people in on Saturday saying, hey, there's no one in line, just come in and do it. And then on Sunday, we didn't even do tickets. So absolutely loved that. Was going over some of the builds with Eric this morning for next year's Armory experience. So very clearly, this will be back next year.
Yay. Awesome. And then, of course, the dragon.
Big one.
Had to pull that in at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my gosh.
Yeah, this has been so long in the making. We knew Eric has wanted to do a dragon for years, obviously. The fact that we are at a point right now where this could be feasible, and I say could be because it's still got to get funded, right? The level of investment that it's going to take to actually produce one of these things is incredibly extreme. And we as a small company need to be mindful of the fact that while this is an important project, it can't be a vanity project. We can't do it and lose a lot of money on it. It's got to be something that if the community wants it and supports it and buys it, then we will gladly make it. Heck, we're going to make 5 dragons if you'll allow us to do it. But for this one, being able to reveal it at G-Con, with the 10-year anniversary, 25-year anniversary, the way that we were able to push it out and that room kind of reveal, absolutely incredible. And just before this show, I was, looking at some of the clips from the documentary that Brad Treadaway put together. That's going to be dropped either tomorrow or probably Saturday, certainly by the start of next week. So look out for that. We'll make posts about that, and that'll be on the Four Horsemen YouTube channel. But if you were at the show and you got to see this dragon, when you actually watch the documentary, I think you'll have an even greater appreciation of the work that went into creating that monster. And I cannot wait to have this in my collection. This thing is, I hate to say, I said to a few people at LegionsCon, it is the most ambitious action figure project ever, which I feel almost dirty saying that because it's so not humble and it's so atypical of the way we talk, but it is. When you look at this thing beyond just the sheer size, because it's huge, but there's been a lot of big toys out there. What I've always been saying is so many big toys are play sets or vehicles. A lot of flat surfaces, a lot of flat colors that are cast in the plastic the color they need to be. This has so much sculptural detail on it, and every inch of it, snout to tail is fully painted. This thing is an absolute beast to see in person. This is, in my opinion, the crowning achievement of all of these decades of toy creations that Four Horsemen Studios have done.
Yeah, it is unreal. And I cannot wait to get my hand. I am so excited. I am so excited for you guys to say, all right, now put your hat in. I have a feeling that you guys are going to be pleasantly surprised by how many people are going to pick this up.
It's the reaction after G-Con in the wider toy community was incredibly impressive. And we owe part of that to people like Robo being at LegionsCon, Wade being there, so many of the other toy tubers that were there, Dan Larson. I mean, there's a ton of them. I could go on and on. The fact that they were there and were able to cover it, that's a cool part of this year is there were so many toy tubers from the wider toy community that discovered LegionsCon and when they are covering it, it really felt like as much as we were in our little circle of our community, people outside of the community were looking in going, hey, what are you guys doing over there? That just looks really cool. It kind of felt like we were the cool kids club for that weekend, right? And the other toy community, they were looking at it like, oh, do you hear what's going on in New Jersey right now? There's some really big stuff happening. That's awesome.
That is awesome. First of all, Jeremy, let me apologize. I am a real stickler for 9:30, but I really wanted to get through those with you. So thank you for hanging out with us for just a few minutes more. And thank you to the chat for hanging out. I know we've got a whole year, a lot of stuff coming out. Is there any kind of little tidbit that you can get us excited about that's coming up that we could expect?
Something I said earlier is that this wave is going to pay dividends, but I think the bigger thing to get excited for is now that we're done that first story arc, now that we've opened up the map of Mythos, that was a part of LegionsCon that we heard audible gasps from the audience when we showed the expanded map. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of races and character types and monster types that people have asked for years, including a dragon. We gave you a dragon. And as we look forward, some of those other wish list items that people have had, what I will tell you is, hey, they're on our wish list too. We want to see them in Mythos. And guess what? We can actually make it happen. So buckle up. The first 10 years of Mythic Legions have been absolutely incredible. We are not slowing down at all. We have plans for the next 10 years that are going to blow you away, along with Cosmic Legions, Figure Obscura, Graveyard. Like graveyard skeletons, I mean, there's more than skeletons that live in the graveyard. You haven't seen the last of the monsters that are creeping around. So there's going to be some very cool things that are coming out in 2025. We're just happy to have everybody here along with us for the ride.
Jeremy, thank you again. We truly appreciate you coming on. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you to everybody who will watch this in the replay. We hope you loved it as much as we did. We can't get enough of LegionsCon, of course, and are already putting it on the calendar for next year. So,
yep. See you there, everybody.
Yes. So good night, everybody.
Thank you to everyone that super chatted.
Yes. Thank you. All right. And